Today is October 2nd. So hard to believe. So hard to believe. It's about 70 degrees and 9 a.m. I canned salsa this last Thursday. So I had probably about 4-gallon bags full of frozen tomatoes, and I got those out of the freezer, peeled. So easy. That is the only way to do that. So we peeled all the tomatoes, and then I made a hot, spicy salsa with some of the peppers from the garden, onions, garlic, lime juice, and tomatoes. And it tasted really good, so I was pleased with that. It's about 70 degrees. I might have mentioned that, 9 in the morning. This week we're supposed to get into the 90s, mid 90s all week. The lows are in the low 60s, like 61, 62. And I noticed that this morning I think it was in the high 50s. So that temperature difference really helps us, because then we're able to do we're able to have quite a nice day before it goes into the 90s, because it takes a while to warm up to those temperatures. So it's usually very pleasant, because you're starting out with a really cool morning. So I'm really pleased with that. One of the things I want to do is talk about, I kind of want to do a season summary, something like that. I'm looking at some notes I made, because I think it's really important, because I'm using this as my garden diary to also look at what did I do this year that I could have done better. And if anybody views this and has some suggestions, I'm more than willing to take those recommendations, because I think that I only get better as I hear from people about things to do. I went to a garden club meeting yesterday, and I learned so much. There's just so much to learn when you're gardening, that you can never know it all. And so to have somebody that points out certain things to me, especially about our area and some of the native plants, and what you can do with some plants that typically don't look all that great, but we made flower arrangements yesterday out of native desert plants, and they were gorgeous. They were absolutely gorgeous. So anyway, I like doing stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of go through what I viewed some videos this morning of my diary, and so I was gonna try to summarize what I did, and then where I think it'll be better this next year. I think our main focus in 2022, especially early on in the spring, was to do a lot of spring cleaning, and we wanted to reorganize a lot of our patios and finish cleaning out our garage. And as a result, I think we kind of got bogged down in that. And the other thing I noticed on the videos that I did, I seemed to let the wind affect how I planted, what I did, everything. And I do believe that you have to look at the weather in order to figure out when to plant. But I think this next year, one of the things that's a lesson learned for me is get my plants out. I didn't start beans until late. I didn't start squash until late. I think that I kept hoping that the windy season would be gone, and that my little plants would survive better. I just got to figure out a way to protect them. That's all. I need to get them out into the garden. I don't think I will ever direct sow beans. I've found that something eats the beans in the soil, but if I plant a plant, I do better. So I think there's 2 lessons learned. I'm not going to direct sow beans, and I'm going to get beans and squash out in the garden much earlier than I did this year. The other thing that we did this past year is we moved a couple of sets of sprinkler valves and redid a lot of the underground watering pipes and stuff. So my husband's time was spent with that. And then he had some health concerns early on, and where he would normally be fertilizing, feeding everything in our garden and in our yard, that didn't happen. So I think that if we can remain healthy and everything, I think that more of our garden will be fed properly, our yard, and I think we'll do better that way. The other thing one of the things I want to do is I want to assess watering regularly. So I have a tendency, because it's on an automated system, to ignore it, and I can't. The heat that we experienced this last year is one of those things where you have to kind of stay on top of what's watering and what's not. And our water is so hard that, like these soaker hoses or soaker tubing, any of that kind of stuff seems to get clogged really easily. So I kind of want to stay more on top of watching how everything waters, knowing when it's supposed to water, and then start looking for things that might be going wrong. And so I want to do that. I want to mulch. I didn't mulch this year. And again, I'm going to say I need to really look at what kind of wind protection do I need for plants and get that wind protection set up. I noticed the peppers did better by covering them with that cloth all the way around the bed, because then the wind didn't whip them and destroy them. So I think, and the tomatoes, of course my tomatoes did okay, and my tomatoes were covered that same way. So I've got to figure out ways to do that in all of my beds and get them covered properly so that I'm not having to worry about the wind taking them out or anything. Excuse me. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee. Okay. I'm not gonna buy plants in June. The heat kills them. I have bought baby plants in June. I think you could probably buy, excuse me, more mature plants in June, but you certainly can't buy baby plants in June, and most of my boxwoods were killed as a result of that. I'm also not going to probably plant the GreenStalks, the towers, in the summer. I think that they lend themselves perfectly to our spring and fall and winter plantings. I don't think I did well with summer. Now I might try summer again, limited as to what I put in those towers, and then see how they do. But I'm not gonna probably focus much on the GreenStalks except for mid-season type things, or spring, fall, winter. I think they're gonna work out so well. And then I think the other thing I have on my list right now is I've got to prune more for maintenance. I need to deadhead and prune so that my plants stay healthy. I didn't do that this year. I got weary from the heat and decided to not bother, and that's not good. So I think those are the things that I've taken account of now, and I will probably have maybe a part 2 next week, because I'm gonna go through some more of my videos and I may find other things, but I wanted to at least get those identified for myself for next year. I'm gonna start in the front yard. These cannas that are in this pot here, I actually transferred what was left from the backyard, and then I fed them with some bone meal and some potassium, which is why my leaves were taking a hit. So this pot has a lot of new canna lilies in it because I moved all of them. This one I need to work on pulling the dead out of it, and I'll do that this week. I think I'm gonna put, I need to build up the soil here, but I think I'm gonna put well, I think I said that, a grass, but I don't know that I'll put a grass in here. I forget what I stuck something in there. Maybe that was a mum. I don't know what's in there. Can't remember. Okay, so you can see there's one of my Carly Rose grasses. And then this is fake Mexican heather, I think it's called. This is a pentas, a mum, and a petunia with a dianthus in there, a small dianthus. I put the other dianthus over there. Oh, you can see we've got gophers coming up over in here too. Here's another mum, and I think these are pretty. I'm gonna probably deadhead some of this. I think some of my dianthus need to be deadheaded. And then this is an aster. It needs to be deadheaded. This is actually a shrub, but I'm gonna grow it in the pots for now. So this is the fake Mexican heather, I think it's called. I'll look in the back to make sure that that's what that's called. But I put that on both sides. And then this salvia I'm gonna move. I just didn't have time. I ran out of daylight yesterday, but this needs to get cut back anyway. And then I'm gonna put a Carly Rose grass right there as well. So there'll be 2 grasses, and I think they'll like it there. So we're also, our plan is to trim back all of the palm trees in the front this week. So hopefully we'll get that done. So this canna container did all right this season. The other one did not. So I moved some from the jacuzzi pot into here, and I gave them some bone meal, potassium, some feed, and I did the same thing with this one. I need to trim this up and make this look prettier, but at least it's been fed. Both of them have been fed. And then I had just enough that I didn't know what to do with, so I stuck some in this pot because there was nothing growing in here anyway. So the little bit of cannas I had left went there. I think the elephant ears are looking so pretty. It looks like I might have some more stuff sucking on my leaves that I gotta wash off. But I have been taking a little bit better care of them. Seems to make a difference. I'm gonna plant a grass here. Might be puppy love, I don't know. I'm trying to decide. Or Carly Rose. Here's my purple fountain grass. It's looking really pretty. I went and got another cypress, Italian cypress, at Home Depot, and I planted it, and I now know what killed the other one. We have grubs really bad in here. When I pulled out the old plant, I must have pulled out 16 to 20 grubs right in that small area. And I think it's because these trees from next door, their roots are starting to come into our bed, and the grubs are coming with them. So a lot of food for them. But what I intend to do, my husband's ordered some beneficial nematodes, and they're a predator to grubs. So we're gonna be spraying these with the beneficial nematodes when they come in. Look at my pomegranates. I haven't done anything with this pot yet because these pots are the ones that I was working on. These are gonna get grasses put in them. But one of the bad things is when I was searching for grubs over there, I cut the water line that runs for this one, for these plants, so, or pots, so I've got to get that fixed. There's my grasses sitting over there still. The snapdragons are looking so pretty. Tequila sunrise. Yes, it looks like it. Even that looks pretty, that lantana. I don't show these pots enough either. So this container we redid last week. I have a couple of lantanas in there and then 2 daylilies that actually came back. And the problem with the tubing was that it comes up right underneath this daylily. And this was poor flawed tubing that we got back in 2020 that keeps breaking, tearing. So my husband said I need to pull most of the stuff out of this bed so that he could, at least I had to pull out this plant. And so I had to remove this daylily and stuff before I planted these. And these are the Tropicana lilies that I stuck in here. And I fed them with some bone meal and some potassium and stuff. And then we replaced the tubing in here. And then I put the emitters in. So this was a full morning job, just doing this, getting the soil put back in here, feeding the plants, replacing the tubing, all of that good stuff. Took a while. I saved all of the boxwoods that were out front, and my husband cut them back. There's a few that still are green. I might kill them in the pots, but, and this was a pepper that was out front, so I saved it. I'm gonna put it in the garage, and then there's a petunia over there, and then the rest of these are all boxwoods. And these are part of the ones that were out front, and he said these were pretty crisp. But we stuck them in containers, watered them up good, and hopefully I'll have at least maybe 2, maybe 3 that survive. And if I do, along with those 2, I at least have the start of a little hedge. So we shall see. I manually pollinated that zucchini yesterday. I had already manually pollinated that zucchini. Looks like there's some other ones forming that I could do. There's at least one, but the blossom hasn't opened. But I am pleased that we're gonna probably get some zucchini this season on those. There's my crazy cypress vine. These pots are now empty of any cannas. I'm gonna take these out. I have containers that match the other ones in the yard, and I'm gonna put those in. These are starting to bloom. How pretty. You know, I even think that's pretty. whether I get food off of it or not, but I hope I get food off of it. That little eggplant's going crazy there. Then I took some more of the canna lilies and I planted them in the center of this because I needed a thriller plant. So there you go. What I've decided to do with this bed is I'm gonna pull all the plants out of here, raise the soil. I'm gonna find homes for those, which will probably be where some of these petunias have gone bad. I'll put salvia in there for a while. And then what I'm gonna do is, this is gonna be my cut flower area next year. And we bought a trellis that specifically fits these beds that we'll be putting on it. And we're gonna water it a little bit differently. This tubing is the bad tubing as well. So we're gonna have to replace that tubing anyway. And my husband said, let's redo this whole bed. So we're going to. The salvia is so pretty. And that's why I haven't moved the one salvias, because I was gonna bring the one from the front yard to the backyard, but I actually need a different place for these salvia. I don't think my blueberry plants are doing well in this location. And in fact, I know they aren't. And I may just stop these containers altogether. I never got any blueberries. They were kind of pretty, at least around the benches, but they're just, I might try, because they're still alive, I might try moving them somewhere, but I don't know that I'm going to leave them here for sure. They don't like it. This is so pretty. I'm going to take one of these cuttings for the fair too. Plumbago. I think one time I was shooting a video and I didn't know what this stuff was. It's plumbago. That I might take to the fair too if I can find a pretty one. So nothing done on the top yet. I've been working out, doing things for the community recently, so I haven't had a chance to work so much on the yard as much as I wanted to. Getting the stuff planted out front was the big thing. Oh, and then I love that my goji berries are coming back. They are hardy. They just won't, they don't give up. So then all of those are squashed back there. We'll see how they do. I think they've grown a little bit. They probably need food. You can see I got some noodle beans hanging off of a trellis right there. So not as much to see in the garden. The Lycium has grown even more over there in that pot. I'm gonna be planting some more Lycium in the house, and I'm probably not gonna wait until spring to do it. And then the peppers are doing well in this kind of weather, and we haven't taken these out, but our intentions are, ooh, that bean plant's now healthy. Wonder where it came from. That's gorgeous. Huh. But yeah, these are all coming out. My husband's been picking a few off of these. I'm gonna go over to this side since you can't really see over here. Ooh, look at how this pepper plant has kind of bowed, and it's heavy. It's a corbaci. It's all over the place. It needs to be. Oh, my okra looks so sad. Actually, it looks big, but this is where, this isn't what we're trying to get tomatoes on. This is what we're trying to let tomatoes still form. And we're gonna let it go till frost. My serranos have, I bet you they have quite a bit of fruit on them. Yeah, they do. So I'll probably have more serranos than I know what to do with this year. I'm gonna try to cut back those moss roses and see what happens. At least a little bit. But yeah, I've got flowers, tomato flowers. That's a good sign. Lots, actually. So this is looking good. I'll can more salsa. Oops, I got a big eggplant there. I gotta pick some eggplant. I have homes for them. Those beans have gone nuts, but I think they're gonna have gone to seed. These are nice size. And I haven't figured out when to pick these. I picked some green. They didn't taste bad, but I don't think that's when they're supposed to be picked. And I still don't have any Roma tomatoes, which is what these are. There's some eggplant down there too. The eggplant's loving this time of year. And I didn't clean out this bed yet because we got a new freezer, chest freezer, a small one, so that I have room to buy like a turkey or some. Actually, what it is we have an upright freezer and it stores everything beautifully. But what I don't like is if you put a whole chicken or a whole turkey or something in there, you have this hodgepodge of fitting things in there because it's an irregular type shape. I want to put irregular type shape stuff in the freezer, the chest freezer, with some of the things that, like frozen veggies, things like that, and use that as a secondary storage. Boy, these are curling. I don't know why they're curling. I have to look at that, why that does that. Anyway, that was our focus this week, is getting the garage set up for the new freezer and taking delivery of it and all of that good stuff, as well as all the community things that were going on. Isn't this pretty? I would enter this in the fair, but they lose their little petal so fast. Cape honeysuckle, not so good right now. Got a big purslane growing in there. These I don't care about anymore. Although, look, this Angelonia is looking pretty. And this orangeberry is still okay. The bees are loving this Cape honeysuckle, but I think we're gonna cut it back to almost the bottom of the pot and then rejuvenate all the soil in the container. So, haven't done anything in here yet. That's my garden diary. Today is the 28th of September. This is what we got out of the garden. This is awfully green, but it smells really good. So I'm gonna leave it on the counter for a little bit and then stick it in the fridge. Probably I'll leave it a few days. And then we got just a few tomatoes, but my husband, I think, has gotten at least 3 more tomato hornworms. So if he keeps being successful with pulling all the hornworms off of there, we might get more tomatoes soon. Anyway, I'm not upset. There's actually probably beans out there to pick and stuff like that too. I just haven't been over in that part of the garden recently because I'm working on containers all over the yard. Today is October 2nd, and this is what I got out of the garden. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eggplant, some Corbaci peppers, and some Fresno peppers.